Welcome to theCUBE studio here at the New York Stock Exchange. I'm Gemma Allen, and today I am bringing you some special coverage with Broadcom on modern private cloud, a secure foundation for production AI. Joining me now is one of Broadcom's customers, and we are going to go under the hood of VCF, what that looks like in practice. Welcome Rodney Barnhardt, Server Administration at Charlotte Pipe and Foundry. Welcome, Rodney.
Hello, thank you. Nice to meet you.
So before we go into VCF and modern AI and this infrastructure upgrade that the world is on, first maybe just tell us a little bit about your company, Rodney, about Charlotte Pipe and Foundry and your role.
So Charlotte Pipe and Foundry is a 125-year-old, fifth generation owned PVC and cast iron pipes and fittings manufacturer. All of our manufacturing is done within the United States. We have multiple locations across the country. I've been there now for about 18 years, been a server administrator during that time there. Worked with VMware products since about 2011, and I'm considered probably the subject matter expert on VMware by Broadcom products at the organization.
Wow. When we think of a company in the manufacturing space based in North Carolina that's 125 years old, we don't necessarily immediately think of an AI native modern infrastructure company, right? I'm sure that this is quite an internal journey you guys have been on. Talk to us a little bit about the path, the journey you have been on with VCF, and I guess really what problems fundamentally you have been looking to solve.
So originally, when we moved to VCF, it was prior to being able to do brownfield imports. So while we've been VMware customers for a long time, prior to moving to VCF, we were on 3 tiers, Cisco Blade Center, Unity, all-flash storage array, and we were beginning to see the migration of other companies moving workloads to cloud, and we were thinking we would be having to start moving these live workloads to the cloud, maybe from the cloud, depending on the performance needs. And in looking at VMware by Broadcom and the VCF platform using HCX to be able to do those migrations, as well as vDefend to put microsegmentation around products, made VMware Cloud Foundation an ideal product to look at deploying within our environment.
So you mentioned a number of things there, but it's clear that there were some key criteria, right? And security, governance, and all of those parts of this cloud ecosystem, which are so important, are obviously core to this solution. Talk about, I guess, the assessment phase of understanding, okay, should we go VCF? I mean, it's a competitive landscape out there in the world of cloud. What really kind of drove that decision?
One of the reasons that we chose VMware Cloud Foundation was the ability to move those workloads around without having to refactor or rebuild the VMs. So HCX allowed us to just migrate those straight to cloud if necessary. And otherwise, other platforms, you have to rebuild the VMs or refactor the apps. So it just made the solution a smart move.
And I mean, most of these migrations and this, move to modern infrastructure, it normally starts with some sort of business trigger, right? Some business outcome that you're hoping to achieve. What was that for Charlotte Pipe and Foundry, and also what have been the realized benefits of this?
So one, like I said, was the possibility of being able to live migrate these workloads. The other was to be able to use vDefend to microsegment and better protect the network overall. So if you use vDefend and create microsegmentation, for those that are not familiar, that limits applications and services to only the ports that they need access to. So you can say that these servers cannot do a remote desktop protocol or RDP to these servers, and that can help lower the threat landscape. So if an attacker gets in, they cannot just be jumping from server to server to server. So it also adds a layer of protection to the overall environment.
Wow, which is obviously so important, especially in this current landscape we're in right now. So when you're thinking ahead in terms of, what this means for the run business and the run management of your IT stack, What has fundamentally shifted for you in terms of just, overall management? Do you see increased downtime? Do you see less time spent, on observability? Or what have been the kind of real technical benefits of this?
One is management. So you have a central management point for an entire stack. So, and that also helps with upgrades. So you can, if you have to upgrade the stack, you can download the packages, and generally the upgrades are pretty much automated. There's a process you have to go through. You have to do the SCDC manager first, and then down on through the stack. But generally, unless there's some outlying factor, these upgrades, they'll just run smoothly. You kick them off, they'll run through, they'll do each one as necessary. There's a planning option, so you can go through and plan the upgrade. It tells you what needs to be done, what order it needs to be done. You don't have to go digging through documentation. Now you can tie in. So say if you're a Dell customer, which is what the most of our stack is, you can tie that in with Dell Open Manage, and now also apply with the image based profiles. You can apply all the firmware, BIOS updates, all of that, all as part of the upgrade process. So prior to that, I may have to go in and upgrade the BIOS and the firmware on the machines, and then later come back and upgrade ESX on the machines. Now this can all be rolled into one upgrade process.
Security, I know you've touched on this already lightly, but maybe if we go a little bit deeper on this for a second, because it's such an important topic, right? Especially in this world of secure production AI and, modern cloud infrastructure. Everyone suddenly has something to say about this, right? And risk vectors seem to be far more conversational than they've ever been before. For your organization, when you think about that security element specifically, what has changed and what continues to change? Like, I presume you have to continue to upgrade policies to build that into an overall governance structure here. But has this migration in any way, I guess, lightened the mental load in terms of the risk that you think about on a day-to-day basis?
Well, I think if there's a security patch or update to the platform, it makes it a lot easier to get it deployed. Versus in the past, it might be more complicated to deploy an update. Like with all vendors, there's threats found, there's patches that need to be released. So the quicker you can get those out, the meantime to an attacker being able to exploit vulnerability now just keeps reducing. So the faster you can patch and get those systems updated, the better off the entire organization is.
So one thing we don't talk enough about in tech sometimes is the human side of transformation. When you think about this migration that has taken place, how has it changed things for the IT organization in terms of having more automated, modern platform? Like, does it change the way your team it operates, the way it's segmented? And do you think that will continue to shift over time?
I think it'll, as more AI comes into the picture, which is something we're just starting to look at, I think it will shift and change, and there will be even more automation. The plus side to an overall platform like this is you can automate a lot of processes. You can do self-service portals. And I think that will be something we'll utilize in the future. We're not quite there yet, but I think that will help improve overall the services that we provide to our end users and customers.
And when you think about the internal end users within the organization, do you see more fluid conversations between users of IT services like sales teams and product teams and the technology organization? Do you think that conversation can move in a more kind of agile manner in this world of modern cloud infrastructure, Rodney?
I do, because more things are becoming interconnected and interreliant on each other. Especially as more organizations look to AI, they'll be connecting various systems that may now be disconnected. They'll be looking at integrating those better and allowing them to rely on each other and say, this system may take an order in and send it to another system that processes the order that may then generate something on the processing side or deployment side. So I think you'll see more integrations like that and discussions between teams on doing those types of integrations.
I think we're certainly closing that gap between a world when IT was just something people knew about when it broke to this modern world where everyone's a technologist, right? So there's good and bad in both, I guess. So, Rodney, looking ahead, this has been an interesting journey with VCF. What, are you working towards now? Like, what are the goals ahead for this technology to ensure that you're continuing to optimize? What's on the roadmap? And also, what did you learn from this process? Is there anything you'd like to share with other folks in the space that might be considering a similar migration?
So currently on the roadmap, we are looking at moving to version 9.1. We are currently on version 5.2. We have been somewhat held up due to we federate our NSX, which has a great benefit of by stretching our network to our DR site. If we fell over, those VMs just come up with that federation. We don't have to re-IP. We don't have to change systems. But we've had to wait for 9.1 to be able to do that upgrade because of that federation. So that's next on the roadmap, is to start making that upgrade to 9.1. And that's our current plan.
And when you look back at this process, at this journey you've been on, are there any kind of key lessons, anything you wish you'd known before you began, or anything you'd like to share with others that might be watching that are also considering their own VCF journey?
I think the key is to plan, is look at your current environment, make sure all of your hardware meets the HCL list, make sure you have all of the appropriate things in place. We did have a couple gotchas early on, and because we did not do enough research into making that move. So just look at what's the requirements and the HCL list, and make sure that what you have is already in place, or that you may have to go out and make some changes or acquire some different hardware to make that upgrade. Generally not, but it could be necessary. So you really want to look into that before you start down the upgrade process or the move process, or you may have a delay in getting this transformation done.
Rodney, I think that's sound advice, because we think a lot about these big bets, but sometimes it's about just understanding and getting those fundamentals right first, right?
Well, sometimes you get excited about something and you just want to pull the trigger, and then it's like you start down the path and you're like, oh, I missed that. And now you got, okay, well, now we got to drop back and punt, and
For sure.
maybe not necessarily start over, but it definitely can cause a delay if you don't plan properly.
And especially at this moment right now, where the kind of motto seems to be, act now, think later in tech. Right?
Yeah.
Such a race. So, Ronnie, thank you so much for joining us on theCUBE.
All right, thank you.
I'm Gemma Allen, coming to you from the CUBE studio at the New York Stock Exchange. This is a special piece of coverage with Broadcom, where we are going under the hood with customers who are bringing VCF to life in the field, gaining real benefits from this technology. Stay tuned.